Greetings. This is Stephen Williams. Thank you so much for coming and welcome to another session of Behind the Veil. I am here. First of all, if this is the first time for you to come and you need to subscribe, look, come on down at the bottom, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can be enlightened when we go back online with another segment. Today, I am honored, favored to be able to talk to my friend of some 30 years. Oh, God, easy 30 years. Walter, we call him The Voice. Y'all call other people stuff, but we call him Walter The Voice Johnson from right here in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we are here at,
This is Healthy Choice.
Healthy Choice.
Healthy Choice, my nutrition club. We sell Herbalife products and nutritional drinks. And this is one of the many things that I have my hands in. He's actually trying one of the shakes right now. Strawberry.
No sugar.
No sugar.
No sugar.
Strawberry.
Lord have mercy. Thank you so much for allowing me to come. Listen, what you're hearing behind us is there's some filming and there's some other stuff going on. He has the street is busy. There's a lot of stuff going on where he is, and you should come to his shop. Give me the address.
Yes, 324 East Sycamore Street. If you're looking for a healthy shake, please give me a call first. Maybe we can put my number at the bottom of this.
This is good. This is good, and we'll put his information down in the description. Come on, let's get to it.
Okay.
I am excited. First of all, tell me, let's talk about your music.
Okay.
All right. Let's first talk about your music. And when did you start? How did you start? Are you one of those, I started when I was 3, singing in the choir, and mama made me do this?
So what I've heard, mom said that I was singing at the age of 2. And she sang at St. James Baptist Church. Still members there and sang there for years. She and my dad are still there, and we would always sing in the house, and I would always just sing.
Since 2.
Since 2.
Wow.
That's what mom told me.
Did you do any? I know you have formal training later on, but up to that age, like what were you doing? Just singing in the choir, hanging around?
Well, actually, you know what? Now you're really taking me back because. Singing at church, but then it exceeded past church because we went to the National Baptist conventions. I would always get solos there. I went to the Gospel Music Workshop of America. I actually recorded. In fact, you just brought it back to my. I recorded before I had training. I recorded I did Edwin Hawkins Music and Art Seminar in Chicago. I did. I want to say.
How old?
Oh my goodness.
How old are we talking?
I was probably 16 or 17 then, but the Gospel Music Workshop in Salt Lake City, I was still was it junior high school then, I think. So I had recorded as early as that.
Where'd you get this skill from?
Church choir, watching, and I loved to sing. I always would watch, especially my mom. She was my first teacher. And mom would sing. I tell you, I still cry when I think about it. Mom was so passionate about. She was back in the day when you were singing and folks get happy, like that, knocking stuff over. And I can remember Mom would sometimes sing so happy that she'd almost pass out.
Wow.
I mean, she would one of her songs, Change.
I'm so glad you changed. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So where's your style from? You sound so much like Daryl Coley. I meet you probably 17, you're 17, 18 when I am introduced to you. And Daryl Coley is my favorite, back in that day. Nobody was singing like Daryl until I met you. And I was like, what? Like, is this always been your style?
And it's interesting because those that know me from back in the day, I think I sound less like him now, but to answer your question, he was a tremendous impact. He was had a tremendous impact and influence. I actually met Daryl when I was still a voice student.
Oh, wow.
I was at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State
Oh,
University.
Lord.
And so I actually got a chance to meet him at a conference or something, and I actually had him come to do a master's class while a student at A&T.
Wow.
He did it for me. I used to drive him around. And back then, I was a college student. I was in a 280 ZX, and I never forget, I had faith, and my gas hand was, when you're in college and the money is, and he would say, I think it's about time for you to get some gas. I think it was a little. So it was just, and then we also recorded, and this is interesting. So to just kind of give you and you already know, because I met you with Winston-Salem State and didn't go to Winston-Salem State.
Right.
Well,
you sang everywhere.
I was at UNCG, and Daryl came and did a recording with the Neo Black Society choir back in. So because I went to UNCG for about a year or so, and then I went to the other side and came in.
Wow. Because see, I didn't know you went to A&T. I thought you were, because when I met you, you were at UNCG.
Yep. That's when I met Daryl, and then we established that relationship, and I would listen to him, and I think I really I enjoyed him because at that particular time I was an avid student in studying, and I was still dealing with trying to fuse all of this together with pedagogy and methodology behind singing, and he had a perfect blend.
Certainly.
You could tell he was trained, and so I was in that way trying to find a way that I could still fulfill what I grew up with in gospel, because there was a time when my voice teacher, Judith Howell, I never forget, she was like, Walter, I have no doubt that you'll be very successful at what you were going to do, but you're going to have to make a choice, because at that time I was a music major, and I think I was singing in like 7 gospel choirs. So I had to make that transition of just going strictly classical and da-da-da-da. So Daryl was my kind of way to connect and tie both worlds together.
So so let's go back. Okay. 7, 8, 9. So did you decide music is going to be what I'm going to do?
I don't know that I decided per se, because it was just so much a part of my life and who I am and who I was at the time, that I don't even think decision, it was just naturally coming out. It was just,
got you.
It was just, I don't even think the question came up with what, it was like, that wasn't separate from who I was. Mom and them said I sang, Mom and them said I sang so much, they used to tell me to shut up. Because I would sing out, even in my sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you never dreamed to be anything else other than what this particular evolution?
Well,
because this is our study from behind the veil. A lot of people don't know how you get to be where you are. You know what?
I hear. Yeah, I think I still knew that it was, and you know what? Wow, it was never in my mind to be this gospel whatever. Although I was in it, because I had it all together. In fact, my studying, my going to school to get formal training for it, was so that I could bring it back to church. I specifically remember that, and I'll even say this: I have a huge testimony, because I was told that I didn't have enough potential to be in a music program at one point. So for those who have tried to audition, and that's why I think I've always kind of gravitated to just folks who don't have a lot of airs, and because I'm just tremendously humbled and about folks who really want to work and want to do the best that they can for the kingdom. It was never let me show off and it was never that. It was always pouring out it was a way for me to minister to God. It was a way for me to express myself, and it was a way for me to minister to others.
Always born in Greensboro?
Yep, born and reared.
Just you and
my sister,
your sister,
Tracy. Only 2 of us.
Only 2.
Only 2 of us. I love my sister.
Yeah, we love her sister. Mom and dad. I met mom and dad. So here is. Let's ask this question. You know, because in that time frame, we're talking about growing up, African Americans growing up without mothers and fathers. How was that, knowing that you had a complete package, and then maybe other young men did not grow up like that? What differences did that make?
For me, it was the difference. it has definitely shaped who I am. Significantly grateful to my parents for that. And it's interesting because they were also parents to other folks. We had the communal type house. Folks would come in. And in fact, to this day, there are generations of young folks who can call my mom and dad mom and dad.
Got you.
Yeah, so I was tremendously blessed by that. And you appreciate it even more when you have a moment to revisit that, and you see how things have evolved, or I won't necessarily say progress, but the way things are.
Yeah,
it makes you tremendously grateful.
What kind of child is Walter? 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is he shy? Is he
not shy?
Never shy. You always
socialite, very energetic. Always doing something. I think I'm still doing
things that hadn't changed.
Always into something. Very creative.
Always.
I was writing music at that age. I wrote this first song. Ooh.
Oh, here we go. We're going behind now.
Yeah, you really I wrote this song, God Is Not Dead.
Okay. When? What age?
Oh my goodness. I had to have been, let's see, Mamie Johnson. You know Shelby Johnson that used to sing with Prince. All of us. St. James. Shout out to Shelby and her mom. Mamie Johnson was our choir director. I wonder if she remembers that song. God is not dead. God is not dead. God is not dead, for he lives within my soul. And then we had the old, God is not dead. God is not dead. He's 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 not dead. That was all little. That was it right there.
Is there any way I can charge this?
Hey, look, man, we told you it was a lot going on.
It's a lot going on.
You want me to watch it for you? You want me to watch it for you?
I'm just I was gonna charge it.
Yeah. I'll plug it in somewhere.
Thank you so much.
It's a lot going on.
Too.
Yeah, bless you.
Well, yeah, I know you. I think we Facebook friends. So yeah.
You got it. I got you. You know it's safe, don't you?
Yeah,
Excuse me, y'all.
We'll be right back. Now you see that this is the kind of opportunity that we're having behind the veil as we're studying and listening to Walter. He is so communal and so loved. That God Is Not Dead song is a plum trip, ain't it?
I'm back.
We really are behind the veil with this. And so you are a writer?
I'm a writer.
Wow.
Yep. And have always, when writing, would get the melodies and the harmonies. Some people say, well, how do you write? How do you write? Ever since being young, I would get melodies, lyrics, harmonies all at the same time. So
when did you start writing?
That was as early as, I want to say, 9 that I actually did it and was performed in church. But I believe I was writing before then. I always, and my children are like that.
Okay.
My children are like that.
It's transcendent.
Exactly. In fact, some folks may know the Singing Jays, which is my middle daughter and I. So yeah, she's singing. She's getting ready to go off to college. But we hadn't gotten that far yet. I done jumped up. I'm sorry.
You're fine. No. I think that's good. I don't know if a lot of people know that you write. I don't. Now, do you play?
A little bit. I had to for school. So I definitely played for teaching, but I chord a little bit. But that's that type of thing. You focus on what you're best at, and that's what you become better at. Yeah, but I can sit down, and it's a little rusty, but I can chord a little bit. Just a little bit.
Now I know your sister sang, because now did she play as well?
No, she doesn't.
She's always been the princess, right?
She's been the princess. She sang and she danced. Both of us actually danced.
Okay, you used to dance. What kind of dance?
Modern dance. I would pick the girls up and at St. James, it was Carolyn Harris Mintz. So I did that too. Yeah, so
dancing, singing, we're doing all of this, but your main thrust is vocal, and you go to school
went to school.
You know,
yeah.
high school. Are
High
you?
school.
Were you still this church boy in high school? Are you the church boy?
I am.
You know.
I am the church boy, but I was also the arts boy because in school
Got you.
I did plays.
Okay.
At Kaiser, I played Charlie Brown. So
Okay.
Figure black Charlie Brown. Even back then.
Black Charlie.
Little more speed, little more rope, little more something, little more hope. Gotta get this stupid kite to fly. Gotta make sure it doesn't snare, doesn't droop, doesn't tear. Gotta make sure it doesn't bit off. Oops. That's all I'm doing about now.
Really? From what age now?
Oh, that was junior high school.
I'll tell you what I remember about junior high school. Nothing. This is really good. This is informative.
Okay.
For the audiences to show that you didn't just pop up on the scene.
Right.
You know, and so you've been doing musicals, you've been in plays, this music thing is in your core.
It is.
You know, I meet you probably, and we'll talk, and we'll get to the good stuff. I meet you probably first year. I've heard of you, 1987 is when I hear about you.
Okay, and that's when I graduated
From high school?
High school.
Now, I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't start singing until 86.
Okay.
So when I come to Winston-Salem State, I'm one of the few singers, male singers. And there is always this comparison. You always ask, what is this comparison? Who else is singing? And your name always popped up. There's this dude named Walter who sounds like Daryl. You gotta meet him. Because at the time I'm finding out who I am musically.
Right.
So I'm late. I'm a late bloomer when it comes to music.
You made up for it though. Good question.
And so meeting you, I've always known your energy. I've always known your all of that. But what makes you so technical, so passionate about this thing called music and singing? More specifically, because I didn't realize you were in plays or anything until later on. But I've known you to be the singer, the one with so much control. How do you gain this control? What is this about? Like even of all this singing, your control is still phenomenal. Even today.
Bless you.
Like you can really command your voice. Gift or training? Or both?
Both.
Both?
I definitely, because before ever going to school, the Lord just gifted me to sing. But I will say, because I taught music in school too.
Okay.
That people don't know about.
What do you mean you taught music?
I was a music teacher for 2 charter public schools.
After college?
After college, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. After college and after my road, because I went on the road immediately after college and was gone for like 7 years doing gospel music.
Oh, we got to come back.
Okay.
Oh, we got to come.
Yeah, that's when I did theater and I was doing that like full time. That's when I left. I'm jumped ahead.
You're
you
fine.
want to go back?
No,
we
let's
were
go
talking about
behind the
technical-
veil. This is
When you
behind the
asking
veil.
about the, see, I'm
because
thinking,
you're technically sound, and that is, very far-fetched in gospel music. Well, let's go back. Back then, it was not. There were very few people who were trained to do it.
I'm gonna tell you, and I'm so far out of what with gospel now, but I think you did have training. Derek Coley, the Hawkins,
Right.
folks that we know, James Cleveland, he was before our era. Definitely, what's his name? Through it all, Andre Crouch. Yeah. So there was, and to me the teaching was different.
Certainly.
And because I watched my mom and my, and my church community, and they would send us to conferences and they would send us to workshops, we had the opportunity even before school to have training. Kirk Franklin, I remember seeing him before he ever blew up. He used to be at, I think it was the Gospel Music Workshop of America, in bib overalls, and he was that young person, and he would command the directing
Yeah.
of it, So I think it's definitely something that you have to want to do. And I still study today.
Wow.
I'm still exercising. I'm still reading up on current methodologies about vocal and where I'm constantly doing it, and I'm excited that I'm still learning.
What is the thing vocally when you're studying that would surprise gospel singers? That what is it that we should know that we're not doing, but we should do it? Is there something? Because I know there's called mask singing. There is breathing techniques that we should do. And I think a lot of gospel artists are doing it, but they never went to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like playing a seventh chord or a ninth chord or diminished fifth. You're playing it, but you don't know it's a diminished fifth.
Mm-hmm. I think to answer your question, and you're going to probably think this is very basic.
No.
There's power in the simplicity of the basic. I think we forget that our vocal cords or vocal folds, if you will, are muscles.
Yeah.
And what I see, kudos to any praise team or church that actually warms up.
Oh wow.
And
yeah.
And I mean literally warms up. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 minutes before you have to, and cools off and listen to your body, because it's a muscle. I think we just think that we can just use it and we can just abuse it. And I think often, and even especially when we're doing it for the kingdom,
Right.
I think it's a thin line between knowing when to sing and when to be quiet.
Yeah.
And especially for those of us who in our regular jobs are using our voice, don't realize how much vocal wear and vocal tear. And then you look and you listen, and at 40 or 50, or you're saying you can't sing anymore.
Right.
So I think that's an area that we could all, well, not, I don't want to sound stereotypical. I think that's an area that is often missed. That it is a muscle, and that it requires to be properly worked out and rest.
How do you work it out?
You work it out through doing vocal eases, which are vocal exercises. You take care of it through making certain you have a strong core, and that's physical activity. You take care of it by making certain that it is hydrated. You take care of it, and you warm it up. And it's not just always singing. You can blow warm. You can warm breaths. You can hum. Yum 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 and so forth.
It is amazing it is such a the singers who will be here. This is a quick master class, if you will, just vocally to hear it is still amazing how fast your voice is, your chording, and how much control that is there. If you were here, you'd be amazed by it to hear it. Like
this is not a good day.
And wait a minute. And this is not a good day.
Not a good day.
Can you imagine what a good day is? So tell me about this school thing, because you go to UNCG, you leave there, you go to the Aggies, you graduate, I'm sure, with music as a theory.
Magna cum laude in music. Yep.
So you smart, and
I had to work, but I studied. And my sister would get all these great grades and wouldn't have to study that much, but I had to work for it, and I did. I did.
So how do you get exposed? Because you were about to say right after college you travel. Okay.
Yep.
So get me to this point where you're called upon to do this traveling thing, and what makes you take that leap of faith?
Oh wow, it's no brainer. Okay, so let me just tell y'all, shout out to Theron McConaughey, who was a theater major at North Carolina A&T State University.
I worked with him somewhere, didn't I?
He's in Atlanta now.
Go ahead.
But yes, so he he was directing this play. You all may have heard, A Good Man Is Hard to Find. It was turned into a movie, and I had a chance to work with some of the greats before they blew up. We had Lexi was there. Mary came and did a stint with us. Of course, LeJune was with us. Deatra Hicks, Palmer Williams. All of these people now, you see them in movies. You've heard them. They've done theater. And at this particular time, this was the Chitlin circuit.
Yes.
So this was major. But Theron called me and said, "Hey, I had just graduated." And he said, "Well, I want you to come and audition." And so I did and made it and left. Had never been away from Greensboro. So I actually, after doing that, didn't go teach in the school system. I left and I was gone for like 7 years.
Just on the road.
On the road. It was wonderful. That was, and I'm going to tell you what was interesting. So I will say it was wonderful, but I had to develop because I went straight from doing classical singing to doing stage.
Yeah.
And stage is actually the most difficult type of singing.
Certainly.
I read an article some years ago that made comparisons to vocal styles to sports. And if I remember correctly, I used to use this analogy when I would teach and do sessions, but if I remember, they said that choral singing is like golf.
Okay.
Choral and operatic singing, because that's the least wear and tear. You're using technique, so it's like that sport. They said that I want to say I forget what was in between, but when they got to gospel theater, they said it was like boxing.
I believe that.
They said it was like boxing. And part of the reason why with gospel theater, and especially back then, it's been refined, but back then you didn't have the equipment, you didn't have the technology that you have now, but you would also often have these lavaliers that weren't headpieces back then.
Yeah.
They actually used lapels, lavaliers, and you would sing and would have to oversing over top of the band that was in the pit, the other vocalist. I mean, so it was huge. And then you had to do it in this big
Theater.
These theaters, the arenas and coliseums, and you had to work it. You had to work the audience. You had to do it and move and be in character. So it was So that was, but that was huge. And I can remember when I first tried to make the transition from singing classical and all of my training, and I went out there with these folks from Detroit who could squall, and I didn't know how to do that. And when I initially started, I was like gargling. Can't do that. But I can remember, and so much at one point that I was hoarse, and I was really, really concerned. And so I came home during a break and went to see my eye, ears, nose, and throat specialist. And I had the beginning of polyps.
Okay.
And they wanted me to put me on vocal rest. And so I quickly adjusted, because I was like, I'm not going to go to school and get all of this. And so made that adjustment and haven't had any problems with that since.
Wow.
Mariah Carey allegedly, or is said, folks are saying that she's been singing with polyps for years.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it would explain some of the wear and tear, and the voice loses its elasticity and being able to do some of the things. But I don't know. So I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I've heard, along with a number of artists over time. So it's important, and you learn specific things. For instance, when you're singing, I think Leandria Johnson, she did "Never Would Have Made It" for the Trailblazers. Her voice actually went out on her, and she said, "I guess that's my cue to go." I don't know if you've seen it. YouTube it.
I didn't see it.
But when your voice begins to get to the point where it's not, and that girl can sing.
Yeah.
It's not putting her under the bus, but just using it as a teaching moment. Whenever your voice begins to unable to phonate, that's an indication, and you don't want to get to that place, but that's an indication of strain.
Got you. Okay. Lessons learned.
Yeah.
Now, I did work with them.
Okay.
through Stephanie
Yeah.
Drake.
Okay.
I was able to.
Because you did theater too.
I did a couple of
Now
theater.
you remember. Okay.
I did a couple of theater things, and he took me down to Charlotte and did a couple of things, and he was very, very nice. I didn't realize he was famous. If I had known,
Aggies do.
I would have stayed connected. My bad. But what were the lessons? 7 years now. There's got to be some lessons that you learned about this road, about what you shouldn't do, what you should do,
Yeah.
expectations,
Lessons.
things to avoid. Because there are some other kids out there who they have your passion, but what they don't have is the lessons.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
Lots of things. Definitely what to do, what not to do. I was, I guess, this church board thrown into this environment of
Right.
real life.
Real life.
So there was the weed smoking and all of it. And
Right.
I can remember crying and wanting to come back home, but I pushed my way through it, and it was a lot. I learned a lot financially, how to save and to be shrewd. Egos.
Certainly.
You think
Oh,
people
yeah.
are going to be really nice, and that some of them were, but a lot of them weren't. I think the greatest lesson for me was I learned that I really had God.
Gotcha.
And I needed God. And it wasn't that I was perfect the whole time, but the Holy Spirit, whenever I would veer out, would reel me back in.
Pull you back in.
Pull me back in. And I thank God for
That's
that.
all of us, right? Right?
But I definitely learned that just because it's under the auspices of gospel does not mean that it is all godly.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Just because it's gospel doesn't mean it's all godly. And so you have to have a good relationship.
You do, and I will say this. I thank God for that experience, because you got to get out of the pews and out of the church. And the only way that you can do some of this is to be able to go there. I mean, you learn what you can handle, what you can't handle. And you don't say it from a place of condemnation,
Right.
but you say it from a place of understanding that, hey, I've been there, I know, and this is where this can lead. So,
Right.
And I'm significantly honored that God allowed me to make it through, because we've had folks to die
That didn't make it.
that didn't make it.
That's absolutely.
There were folks that died of HIV. There were marriages that were, that were destroyed. There were lives that were taken. It was tough, but again, that's also when I came back from that. It was like the level of anointing
was different. What brought you back?
What brought me back? Well, let's see. I got married, and
On the road?
let me tell you what happened. So,
Okay.
1996. That's when we got married. Hey, y'all. Great. So, got married, had a 2-week honeymoon, and then I had to go back to the road.
Now, where'd you meet her?
Her brother, Jeffrey. I don't know if you know Jeffrey Adams.
Oh, yeah, I know Jeff Adams.
That's my brother-in-law.
Get out of here.
He played for our group, The Promise.
What's up,
we
Jeff? I didn't know,
We didn't even
Jeff.
talk about Promise, because Promise,
We'll
Promise was right before this. Promise was right before. Promise was while I was in college.
I didn't realize that.
And then when I graduated, I kind of went on, and while I was out on the road, I did Promise. All of that was before.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So we recorded and all of that, But anyway, so I met Sharon through Jeffrey, and
I did not know Jeff was your.
yeah.
I need to do better with my life. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But let's backtrack and let's
Okay.
talk about Promise.
Okay.
I remember you all. This is the group. This is the group everybody wanted to be a part of. Cedric, Lejeune,
Lynn.
Oh,
Lynn. She's actually here now.
is she?
Yeah, for a little while.
Oh.
Visit, not to stay. Teresa, and Daryl. Now we actually, and there's some history behind that, because the original, the very first, that was the group that actually recorded on, I think, Word Records, and Cedric, of course. So before, there was a group that emerged from Walter Jones.
Walter Jones.
who did the Waljo
Awards.
So
yes.
in that original group, it was me, or I'll say the first group because we didn't actually record with that group. So the original was who I just said it, but just to give you a little history, it was Kelly Wells then, she's now Johnson, Kim Caree, LeJune, me,
Lord have mercy.
I'm trying to think. If I've forgotten someone, please forgive me. I think, and of course Cedric was always the music, the MD.
Now I'm gonna tell you, I sang. You all did some kind of show in Greensboro, and I was an opening act.
Okay. What was this?
Y'all, I was an opening act.
Wow.
And I did not realize it was that close.
Yeah.
It was.
Had some of the best times with the Promise. I can remember staying up till the sun would come up, singing up with LeJune and Cedric and Ra. That's LeJune's sister, one of her sisters, and had some good times. So all of this happened before I left and went on the road.
Why didn't it work?
And kudos to Corey Williams, who was instrumental in kind of helping us. Why didn't it work? You know, you can always say woulda, coulda, shoulda. I think one of the things, in my opinion, we were inexperienced.
Gotcha.
We were inexperienced, and I really think that was the main thing, inexperience. And then of course you had all of these folks who were doing their own things.
Certainly.
Too.
Yeah, you all were.
So
you all were the actual show. What is it disappointing? And we're gonna come back. It's so much more we've got to discuss with him. And I know but I wanted to give you a glimpse into this part of his life. Was it? I guess the question: did you? All of us wanted that stage. How did you handle that disappointment, or did the road make that an easier transition for you not to be as quote unquote successful in the Promise, in the gospel arena? Because you all were right there. I mean, you're right at the door of being the next major artist. You're there.
Yeah, you're right. And I believe June said, Teresa, Lynn, JJ, we had different folks. I will say this. I remember when we came out with our project, just to let you know how I do often wish things had been different. We had a similar, back then it was albums.
It was albums.
Kurt Carr came out with a project with his group, and we were like, it was almost like we were both in the same, that even we made comments about his choice for the album cover. And it makes sense because Patrick Henderson, who was from LA at the time, it made sense. But and now hindsight is always 20/20. You're going and you're thinking, wow, just the difference with how, and of course, Kurt, older than we are and was already established.
He was already in the business.
But again, those similarities, and now you're seeing how these were connected, and Logan Reynolds and Brian Pugh and so many Logan Reynolds and Kevin Bond, all of them came in and helped us with this project. So it was it's just interesting, timing,
yeah,
timing and not having experience,
because you all were the group. If anybody was going to make it in this area, you all were the barometer. In fact, a lot of us pattern ourselves around that. That was the gateway to get out the door, because this was the cream de la cream, if you want to talk about singers of all singers. And every singer wanted to be a part of the Promise, wanted to have the invitation, but we realized we weren't on that quality. I mean, so back then, that's just the way it was. This is the cream in our area, minus Isaac, maybe
and they were younger.
Kim Caree,
they were younger.
They were younger.
Of course, their mom,
right?
Pastor Wilson
Yeah.
was a huge influence. We
Yeah.
would spend time with him.
Yeah.
I mean, just a plethora of rich experiences to be extremely thankful. I
Yeah.
can remember practicing some of my techniques while I was in school. We went back to school, but with different ones. And, you know, it was great. Greg Hoover in Charlotte,
Yeah.
the Charlotte Area Community
Yeah.
Choir, sang with John Key
Yeah.
on his very first VIP project. So yeah, those were the training days.
Wow.
And
Wow.
David Allen. I want to see. I could keep going. I could keep going. So
But
many wonderful people
yeah.
that I had the opportunity. Even work with Mr. Goldsmith.
Yeah.
And sold out. Did some work. And my brother-in-law Jeff was with him, and it's just lots of just blessed to be in the company of so many wonderful people.
So musically, this is where we're gonna go, and so we're gonna come back for part number 2. But he is married now. We're gonna deal with this. You get married, back on the road, trying to get ready to come back, and we're gonna pick up right there
Okay.
for our part number 2. I hope you are enjoying this semi-master class and a look back at Walter. And of course, there's no way we can get everybody in. There is no way we can cover all that he's done. But you've gotten a glimpse into his history, what he's been able to accomplish up to this point. And please, ma'am, please, sir, just continue. Thank you so much for joining me for part 1 with the master vocalist himself, Walter Johnson. And we're going to talk a little bit more about his businesses. Look, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe at the bottom and get your notification. Look, it's real today. It's a whole lot going on, but we making it happen, and it's off the cuff. But we're going to continue this session of Behind the Veil.
Yes. Can we tell them about the show just in case we don't do
Yes.
part 2 before?
Yes.
So I would like to invite you all to come out August the 10th. We're going to be at World Victory International Christian Center.
Yeah.
Bishop Adrian Starks is the pastor. That's 1414 Cliffwood Drive, and we can put that also.
And we'll put that down there. Hey,
Yeah.
this stuff is good too. No sugar.
Yeah.
I like it. Tell me again, Healthy Choice.
Healthy Choice. That's 324 East Sycamore Street. Yeah. Downtown Greensboro.
You got to check him out. Hey, we'll be back, part number 2, in one moment with Mr. Walter
Bless
Johnson.
you. Stay encouraged.
All right. Thank you.